Da, da. Hey guys, Daniel here.
And Mick, hello.
Welcome to That Pedal Show. Today we're looking at boosters and overdrive pedals and how they stack, how they mix, where you should put them in your chain. It's a question I do get asked all the time. The answer is, there is no real answer, of course. You need to get your hands dirty and try these things out. But I've got some good examples set up.
So before we kick off, we're talking about using a boost.
Yep.
And an overdrive.
Exactly.
And a compressor.
Well, a compressor as a boost. Some people use the compressor as a boost as well. So we've got a compressor, a clean boost, and a treble booster. So we're using all those three as a boost. And where would they go? Would they go before the overdrive pedal, or would they go after the overdrive pedal?
Because where you put them has a big difference on how they're...
Huge. Okay. Massive.
Right, so what have we got?
So, to start off with, we have the Analog Man King of Tone as our overdrive pedal. Ooh. Yes. Now, the reason that we are using that is because Mike did this wonderful mod for me where I've got two sides of the King of Tone and I can separate them and have them in separate loops. So, I've got one loop early on, which is this one. Then I have the other loop later on, which is this one. They're exactly the same. Same circuit, same overdrive. So...
Hang on, just to recap.
Yes.
So you've basically got one pedal there, but it's
Yes.
like having two separate pedals in two separate places on your board.
Exactly.
Great.
Exactly.
Right.
So, yes, basic sound, okay? Really nice, low gain, warm overdrive.
And that's with the Analog Man on?
That's with the Analog Man on.
Okay.
Okay? So what we're going to do now, first thing we're going to try is the compressor. And it's a question I get asked all the time. Where does the compressor go? So this is the King of Tone by itself. Now, the compressor after the overdrive pedal. What's happening there, the guitar is going through the overdrive pedal, feeding into the compressor. So the compressor is roughly at the same. You catch the subtle note there? So now we'll try the guitar going into the compressor, then into the overdrive pedal. So once again, overdrive pedal first, then compressor. Compressor into overdrive pedal. So what's happening? We're compressing the sound and then compressing it again with the overdrive pedal.
Yeah, so in this instance the compressor is having much more of an effect because it's first, whereas before the signal chain has gone through the overdrive, gets boosted and is then hitting the compressor after that. Here you're almost getting double compression because you're getting compression on the front end where the compressor is first. So it's compressing that and it's taking a little while for the overdrive to boost that as well.
Exactly.
So it's much more accentuated.
So because the signal is compressed, as it goes into the overdrive pedal, there's a lot less to clip. You know what I mean? The overdrive pedal is acting on the accentuated signals.
Yeah.
Whereas if we go the other way, we've got all that lovely overdrive and that's going through the compressor and the compressor's grabbing, but you have a lot more signal and it just sounds better. Does that make sense?
It does make
sense. There's more signal there.
So is that going to be the same kind of effect no matter what compressor and overdrive you're using?
No, it's vastly different. Now see, as a compression effect,
yes.
it will be similar to that. This is an original 1974 Budbox script logo Dynacop.
Of course
this is the really good one. But if you have a compressor that has a parallel sidechain, so like a mix knob basically, where you have your original signal, then it's going to react differently.
Because it's getting a portion of that dry signal.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
But that is just, lots of people like to use a compressor as a booster.
Yeah.
But if you use it after, you're going to get a lot more of your original signals. It's going to sing and all that stuff. But to have it really early on, you might struggle using it as a booster into the overdrive pedal.
Yeah. So if you're going to use the compressor first, you're using it more for its compression
Yeah.
effect.
Actually, let's hear that. So let's hear you.
Okay, I've managed to drop my plectrum, so I have to pick that up. Just a bit of a schoolboy error. There we are.
So
Okay.
this is you. Okay, so. Same two pedals, different order. Isn't that amazing?
Because it's just completely. So I'm immediately more inclined to kind of.
And it's definitely a sound. And basically, if I turn back the compression and crank up the gain. And that's fantastic. But a completely different sound, a completely different way to use the compressor. It's not compressing much at all there, it's just boosting. Alright, so next. This is a pedal by a guy called Bob Burke. It's a Bob Burke Clean Boost. Really fantastic clean boost, just completely flat, completely straight, and yeah, just gives it a boost. So what we'll do, we'll put the clean boost, first of all, after the overdrive pedal. Okay, so here's our overdrive. Right.
You'll notice my eyes reaching for the level meters on the audio recorder there, because hopefully you'll hear it in the video, but the jump in volume in the room was
Dramatic,
massive.
exactly. And so all that's happening there, the overdrive sound is going into this clean boost, and it's simply more of exactly that sound. Okay.
So that's when you want to go like one.
Yeah, well, if you're doing a solo and you want the same sound for a solo and you just want to boost that exact sound, perfect. You put the clean boost after the overdrive pedal. Okay. Right.
Depending how much your amp's already driving, but we don't want to get into that.
Yeah, of course. So this is this is a very clean.
Yeah.
Okay, the AC30. So we're getting all of the gain from the King of Tone. Okay, so overdrive pedal, clean boost after the overdrive pedal, much louder. All right, but overdrive pedal, clean boost before the overdrive pedal. So you hear the gain. Okay, so give that some love.
It's pushing the over. Yeah. Okay. So what are we hearing there?
So that is the Bob Burke clean boost going into the King of Tone.
Yep. And so the other way around?
The other way around. Less gain, but louder.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can see why I'm seeing this more and more. The more we talk to players, the more we see like maybe a boost there and a boost there. So
Yes.
they've got boosts in both areas, so they can either get it kind of hairier sounding and overdrive the overdrive pedal, or get that extra little volume boost if it's after.
Exactly.
Now, weren't we talking to a guitar player last week who had that? Didn't Andy Timmons have that on his board?
Timmons, he did
yeah.
indeed.
Do you know, I've been feeling a little bit down ever since that video done.
Really?
Because I came away thinking that you could play for the next 50 years and never be as good as that bloke.
I know. I felt inspired and humbled.
If you haven't watched it, check out that pedal show from a couple of weeks ago where we had Andy Timmons in the Borderline.
It's astonishing.
Anyway,
but
I digress.
but it's very interesting because he is someone who really understands gain structure, which is what we're talking about. We're talking about gain structure, how we structure the gain pedal, the gain in front, the gain after it. You know, it's really important to be able to explore your tones properly, you need to understand this. All right, and this is a classic example of it. We're going to look at the treble booster now. Okay, it's a pedal that by itself sounds hideous and awful.
Well, it's unfortunately named, isn't it?
It is unfortunately named.
The last thing that any guitarist wants is more treble quite often.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So, you know, again, if I put the treble booster after, and I'm only going to play this a little bit. So here's the overdrive pedal. Treble booster after. It's a horrific mess. Right?
Go on, just for the sake of the...
Oh,
so
really?
the good people of YouTube can hear what we're talking.
The overdrive pedal by itself. Oh, its fingernails down the back port's just horrific. But, overdrive pedal. Treble booster into the overdrive pedal. Now, what's happening there is it is boosting all the upper mid frequencies, but it's boosting that into the overdrive pedal, and it's accentuating those those frequencies, giving those frequencies more gain, but leaving the bottom end area sort of untouched.
Yeah.
So there's still bottom end there. But it's all the sparkling, chiming top end. But here's something really cool about that sound. If I roll back the volume of my guitar, it's lovely.
That last bit was like a fuzz where it
Exactly.
gets stacked and stacked and stacked, and then all of a sudden goes.
Yeah, because basically the treble booster circuit, there are similarities to a fuzz. It's a very simple old transistor design. There's a really old GE transistor in that one from mine. It's absolutely gorgeous. But if you now play that with the humbuckers.
That's got a honk.
It does. It sounds like, almost like a coctoir.
Yeah.
You know, but for singing lead tone.
You can see, I mean, it's starting to sound a bit kind of Les Pauly 60s,
Yeah.
you know. Oh, cross off. No, I can't. No, can't do this vibrato.
So, I love treble boosters, and there are so many different types of treble boosters, different transistors. They all have a different flavour. But as an example, the Beano Boost is awesome, and the way that stacks into a lovely warm overdrive pedal is fantastic. They were designed to work with amplifiers that are cranked, so it's designed to overdrive the front end of an amplifier.
Yeah.
But if you're using pedals to get that warm overdriven sound, you can put a treble booster into that pedal and achieve a very similar result.
So what have we learned? We've learned treble boosters better before overdrive pedals,
Yes?
not after.
No?
We've learned that compressors can kind of sit either side depending on what you're trying to
Exactly,
achieve.
and the way that you set up the compressor. But if just as a standard compressor tone after the overdrive.
After,
Yep.
okay. And boosts, you need in both ends.
Yeah, definitely. Well, again, depending on what you're trying to achieve, if you want a volume, as like a solo boost, after the overdrive pedal. If you want a gain boost, and it does boost the output. Of course, you boost the input, you are going to get a slightly raised level at the output, but it's going to compress more.
Yeah.
So it is one of those things to experiment with. But to have an understanding of gain structure and the way this all works, it opens up an incredible amount of tones.
Yeah. What I find really interesting about compressors and boosts in particular is if you're struggling to get the sound of a loud amp at quiet volumes.
Mm.
Quite often, clever use of a boost and a compressor can give you that feel, that you're really overdriving the power section of the amp, and that it's compressing as well. So you're essentially faking a bit of power amp characteristic by using the pedals.
Yeah.
And I think it can be quite useful for recording, right?
Definitely. Yeah. There's, a boost pedal and an overdrive pedal give you it'll give you a plethora of sounds.
Great.
Cheers, guys. Hope that was helpful.
See you next time.
Bye.